Welcome to the March to a Million podcast with Greg DuPont, founder of the Wealth Solutions Network. In this podcast, Greg shares his journey to positively impact 1 million lives by creating an army of financially minded attorneys who embrace an expanded role in their clients' lives. Greg and his guests challenge the status quo in the legal profession and the financial services industry, and show attorneys how they can improve their lives, provide greater value to their clients, and experience greater professional satisfaction. Join us in this movement and strengthen your business by learning how to solve your clients' most pressing financial problems.
Hello and welcome to another March to a Million podcast with your host, Greg DuPont. We have a very, very special guest today, and I'm just going to turn it right over to you, Greg. So what are we doing today?
Thanks, Matt. I'm so excited to have our guest today, Barclay Sisk, and it's an example of this world that we're in now with podcasts and conversations and LinkedIn, all this stuff. Posted some stuff out earlier on in our journey here in WSN with regard to long-term care, and Barclay pointed out some things with it, and really we've had the opportunity to exchange communications for the last several months now. And I've been impressed with Barclay's skills with regard to long-term care's expertise and his investment in a software package that he's created. So, Barclay, I'm glad we've been able to get together on this. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join me today. And why don't you, if you would, just give the audience just your own summary of your background.
Well, I've been in this business for 31 years. It was kind of funny. My dad's the one that kind of got me started in the long-term care arena. I was starting off with John Hancock as an agent, and my dad went to a retiree luncheon, and he says, "Bark, you need to look at this long-term care stuff." And didn't realize that John Hancock was one of the major players in this. So I kind of got into it, and I got into production, and we weren't doing full-blown financial planning. And I kept on feeling like I'm a one and done guy. And that's the way long-term care insurance was done many years ago. You'd have advisors and agents go out and talk to somebody about long-term care planning. And we were lucky enough that we had 5% compound inflation, which was an example of letting that policy grow over time using some income or using earnings off of your portfolio. Unfortunately, the pricing was not correct. And so over the years, I've been in this market and worked with advisors. And about 6 years ago, I figured that there was something that was missing. I couldn't figure out what it was. Advisors were telling me, I've been doing long-term care. I've had struggled with long-term care. And I'm like, I figured out what the problem was. The problem was the fact that we didn't track what we did for long-term care planning. You know, we track investments and their performance, but when it came to the long-term care piece, we really didn't do that. So what I've done is I developed a software that allows us to compare different avenues of long-term care planning and show clients how to build a plan over time, because most people in their 50s, when they need to be looking at this, can't do a full-blown complete plan. But as time goes on and they sell a business or they inherit money from their parents, then they're in a situation where they can do greater things down the road. Or as they get later on in life, they start thinking more and more about the long-term care, and it's too late. So that's essentially what we're trying to do, is we're trying to show advisors how to dollar cost average over a client's lifetime. And as you're building a plan, when you're bringing more money into the plan, how does it look compared to what we started with many, many years ago?
Barclay, one of the things that you pointed out to me early on was, asset-based long-term care versus, traditional long-term care and all those kind of things, and some refinement on the tradition. If you would, because one of the things that you kind of pointed out to me was that the traditional stuff is not as bad as many people think it is now. So can you start with kind of an understanding of what is the market of the more traditional long-term care insurance?
Okay. The problem we have is to create a plan that will work for the long haul. Most people in their 50s can't afford to take that much out of the market. Now, in cases where we have folks that haven't really attained enough for retirement and they have modest means, sure, we're going to be using the more of the hybrid long-term care, which is their life insurance with the long-term care rider, because what we're wanting to do is down the road, we want those monies to come back into the portfolio, and that's part of their long-term care planning. So what we've done is we've tried to get out here to your pre-retirees and go ahead and tell them, what does it take to create a long-term care and legacy plan for the long haul? And it's still going to be several $100,000. But the thing about it is, it's not that they have that money right now, is we're using the asset base up front as a control and saying, can we use long-term care and life insurance and create a plan that will still do what the asset-based plan does? And we just didn't do that before because we basically sold premiums. And so we're in a situation where we didn't have anything to test the plan and say, oh, the money's still there to pay the long-term care premiums, and down the road, this money's still there to supplement the plan. Unfortunately, if we go with an asset-based plan and say set it and forget it, we're no better off than we were years ago about selling long-term care insurance and saying set it and forget. So what we're looking to do is to show clients back here in pre-retirement how to create kind of a care fund. And it's not that you have that money, because I said, here is your retirement plan. These are the last dollars to be used. So in some cases, we may have to start utilizing some dollars out of the portfolio. Now, if they have health savings accounts, they're business owners, we're going to utilize those pocketbooks first. But in some cases, we are spending money because over time, there's going to be dollars that are going to be switched over to long-term care and legacy that we could utilize for their plan. Because as they get older, their longevity concerns are taken care of, and they're thinking about legacy and long-term care. But are we doing this with dollar for dollar out of the portfolio, or have we created insurance that handles this? Okay.
So just for people that are just listening to this, what we're looking at now is a couple of pie charts that Barclay has prepared. And what he's showing here is that taking a sliver of the pre-retirement pie chart, as it were, it looks like about 10% of the pre-retirement savings money, using that to gain leverage as we get over the age of 80 in this example, where it looks like it's doubling of the leverage as the concerns move more towards that expense than the longevity. Am I summarizing that fairly well for you?
Correct. Because the problem you have is if we don't put plans in place and you have clients that are, more affluent, the kids start seeing that your long-term care plan and your legacy plan are fighting against each other. That's how they see cash flow. So we want to make it where we show them how we've created a plan that will pay for their long-term care, use the tax qualified money, and then the tax-free dollars go off to the heirs. So what the insurance, the life insurance becomes is a permission slip to spend the tax qualified. Mm-hmm. But you have to start back here in your 50s to get the plan started. And what happens is as time goes on, like I said, if you inherit money, sell a business, that's when we start funding these plans. And then also later in life, when you're over age 80, you're not traveling as much. You've got RMDs to spend. It just depends on the client. But you have to be able to show that, because we have clients today that have long-term care insurance policies and they're 70 years old and they're on the golf course with their buddy and they're going, hey, how's things going? Well, mom needs care. She's 92 and we're spending $18,000 a month. He goes home and looks at his long-term care policy and goes, hey, we have an $8,000 benefit. My buddy's spending $18,000 for home health care. Where's the other money going to come from? So what we're trying to do is to show how to leverage it to where this essentially becomes a discounting these dollars that they spend on care. So you're just trying to build a bigger firewall using the insurance.
So your ideal target market for this approach, it sounds like you're talking about in the mid 50s, or
Correct.
When we have to be starting this.
Now here's another avenue. You've got somebody that's 80 plus, and that, let's say all three of these buckets have $1 million each in them. The kids are going to get the legacy anyway. Start doing the long-term care planning back here for your 50s and use gifting. So what you do is you create this for their children. So this pre-retirement is for their adult children. They are going to get this legacy anyway. So why in the world would you wait? Keep it in mom or dad's accounts, but you do the gifting and start their long-term care plan. And when they inherit the money, it's already there and the plan's already there. This is the mistake we made with long-term care plan. We didn't complete the plan because everything above what the long-term care insurance plays or the asset-based plays is dollar for dollar outside of the portfolio. So we've got to look at ways to either use long-term care insurance and then use an asset base, like an asset-based annuity or life insurance. How do we discount those dollars spent above what the long-term care insurance paid? And for those who are more affluent and have big, large tax qualified, you're going to use the survivorship life insurance and say, spend down the money, put some money over into the asset-based plan, but use the survivorship life insurance to discount every dollar. So those are the three ways that we could do. We can make multiple buckets and discount every dollar they spend. And essentially, it's not return of premiums, it's return of funding back to them. So we're going to borrow the kids' inheritance, and then somewhere down the road, as you're inherited money or you're selling assets or you're selling your business, you're in a position to where you can fund these other pieces, but you can't do it back in your 50s. But we got to show them how to do it before we get there. So the problem we have today is if we wait to age 70 to talk to someone about long-term care planning, because you say, well, that's when they have their money, the difference between what the asset-based plan pays and what home health care pays, these are all dollar for dollar going outside the portfolio. We have the same problem with long-term care insurance. If we do the life insurance later in life, the difference between the home health care and what the life insurance will give back is too much. So we want to get these plans started and not fully funded. We just got to make sure that they're uninsurable, because if this piece comes out, you're still doing dollar for dollar above whatever their long-term care plan, if it's an asset-based plan that they did back in their 50s or 70s or long-term care insurance, all these dollars are going to be dollar for dollar. So the key is getting the insurability out of the way.
Yeah, let me ask a clarifying question.
Okay.
So you're showing in this graphic plans starting back at 50 and going all the way up to 95 in the asset-based long-term care in the 50s. So do you in your program, and you're generally speaking, do you look to an asset-based long-term care in the 50s, or do you look to a more traditional long-term care package?
Traditional, because you have to look at, if we do any long-term care, either it's long-term care insurance or asset-based, we're only insuring 50 to 60% of the cost of home health care. After COVID, what does everybody want? They want home health care. So if you put all your eggs in one basket, you can only afford the asset-based plan, because what we have is we always have premium tolerance at every age. What a person will pay for long-term care at age 50 or 55 is different from what somebody at 75 that has health issues. So we have to kind of show them how to make the adjustments, get them started back here so we don't have to worry about insurability, but we can make a lot of adjustments between 70 and 80 if we know there's a business being sold, if we know there's inheritance, if they're the only child and they know they're going to inherit $500,000, let's make the plan able to make adjustments, and we're not starting the legacy planning or the planning to help discount those dollars above what their long-term care plan pays. Let's do it back here in their 50s and 60s. And this could be converting life insurance, term life insurance at age 70. I don't care what the products are. It's just making sure we tell the client what to do before we get there. See, a lot of the problems we have with insurance, it's all reactive. Okay, I'm going to talk to my client about this. Or they come to their attorney and they want to talk about their estate planning, and you see something that it could do. What if we showed them how to do that back here at 55? So when they inherited money and they came to talk to you, they already have this in place. And all you're doing is going, okay, go to your advisor, and we're going to take this from a $1,800 premium to a $7,500 premium. It's done. I go ahead and show them what their legacy plan is before they even get there. If they don't do it, fine. If their kids want to pay for it, fine. If they want to use a reverse mortgage, fine. I don't care where the funding comes from, but we need to show them, here's what A looks like, here's what B looks like, and here's what C looks like.
So a couple of clarifying questions here.
Okay.
So can you give some context? Because people have heard from clients, traditional long-term care is expensive and it's risky, and we both know the checkered history. But if you could give some context on kind of what premium looks like, and then you made a reference there to increasing premium down the road. Do they typically have the ability to increase what we're paying in down the road so you can lock in insurability at a young age and then add more premium down the road?
Okay, I'm going to skip down to something else. This is the software. And what we're doing is we're looking at a $200,000 commitment for an asset-based plan. This is at age 55. This is Jack and Bonnie. What we could do is we could show them, here's long-term care insurance, and here's long-term care insurance and survivorship life insurance. So think of it as 3 columns. So in that, everybody's worried about rate increases on long-term care insurance. As of 2010 or 2014, somewhere in that range, we had what was called a model regulation that made it where we can't increase long-term care premiums. I went to a presentation about 2 years ago in Raleigh. It was the National Long-Term Care Symposium. And a guy from Utah who was with the Department of Insurance says, basically, when they show us premiums now, they have to hold for 30 years. So we saw in the last couple of years, premiums go up 35%, and we're in the lowest interest rate environment that we have. So the question becomes is, if we do an asset-based plan, and at the end of the rainbow, if you don't use it, you have a $360,000 death benefit. If I do a long-term care insurance and life insurance using the same money staying inside the portfolio to create those premiums, at the end of it, if I have a guaranteed $360,000 death benefit, I have some leeway to put more premiums into the long-term care or the life insurance. And in this example, at year 25, you'd have $360,000 death benefit. If you did long-term care insurance alone, guess what, folks? There is a death benefit. And this is something we miss, because when people bought long-term care insurance many years ago, they could have bought an asset-based plan, and we could have sat there and said, okay, client, it's going to cost you $150,000 for a asset-based plan with company A over here, or let me show you long-term care insurance. Guess what they would have picked? Long-term care insurance. So we made the mistake about not looking at the performance of this stuff. So if we would have bought long-term care insurance, and this premium's $12,000 a year, We didn't sell $12,000 a year premiums back in the day. And we won't sell $12,000 premiums right now unless they're affluent. So what the software does is it allows us to show them how to make adjustments along the way. And when they add more money to this plan, because $200,000 is not a long-term care plan. So if they put $100,000 into it 10 years from now, we got to show them how to use the life and long-term care insurance to still beat this plan over here. And it may be an asset-based plan. So the policies are going to have multiple pieces, or if they have money up here that's tax qualified, you may take a piece of this at age 80 or 77 or 75 and move it to an asset-based plan because you think that they're going to need care in the future. So it gives you the freedom to do that because we created a stronger long-term care and legacy program. It's all about just looking at the different aspects of it. So if we've already created a death benefit that's equal to the asset-based plan, and in some cases where the death benefit's $434,000, if I have to spend an extra $75,000 on the long-term care, the client's going to get it back anyway. And then I show you in column 2, we underfund, and this is what 90% of the people are going to do in their 50s, is they're going to underfund that legacy piece. And this could be multimillionaires who own businesses who want to do a $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, life insurance plan, underfund it. And at age 70, when you've got your Social Security higher, you sold the business, you've inherited money from mom and dad, you can fund the program, but you don't have to worry about insurability. But it's all based on what you're telling me back here in your 50s and 60s when you're in super good health. That's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So let's go back just a little bit. We have a problem with the asset-based plans. When we go out here, we talk to somebody in their 50s, and we used to do this with long-term care insurance. Client, you need unlimited. What happens if you get dementia today? Well, the problem is the policies don't pay until you really, 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 really need care. And for the first maybe 2 years, 5 years, 7 years, 9 years of long-term care with an Alzheimer patient, they don't qualify. But we've got into where we sell these long asset-based plans, and we forgot about what kind of care they want. 98% of the claims out here are in the first 5 years. And what do most people want? They want home health care. So what we're doing is we're taking the same care fund that you would deposit into the asset-based plan and just showing them how to buy long-term care and life insurance. And if they got tax qualified plans or tax qualified accounts, do you want the death benefit going away up front, or do you want it to be at the end? So if they go beyond their long-term care benefits, the survivorship life insurance is discounting all those dollars they spend beyond it. It's the same money. It's the same $3 million they have available for, that length of time of 5 years with dad and 5 years with mom. It's the same identical money. We're just redesigning the plan. And what happens is it helps the trajectory of home health care. If your clients have the asset-based plan or they have long-term care insurance, what happens is they see what's available in the plan. So what happens in that is all these extra dollars going out the door, they're upset. So what happens is the children, they try to take care of mom and dad, and they just say, listen, we're going to put her back in a nursing home or assisted living. But if the advisor moves some money over to an asset base and they've got life insurance with long-term care riders or survivorship, there's extra dollars to give them the home health care that they want. And that trajectory of going to a facility gets out here further and further when they have dementia. And all you're doing is delaying that spending from the portfolio. So we have to match them up apples to apples, and that's what the software does.
The people that tend to listen to this presentation are attorneys, fiduciaries.
I'm getting ready to get into that. This is for the attorneys. So one thing the software does is it shows in the end what is the claims, the death benefit. Everybody's worried about death benefit. What if I don't use this? What's the death benefit? We've got to be very careful, and we got to show them what is the death benefit if you go on claim. So if they had a 3-year claim, dad dies, never uses his policy, the money goes over to her, she'll spend that in the first year. And after a 3-year home health care stay, there's a negative $290,000 they spent. If we would have done the long-term care insurance with the life insurance, they'd be $116,000 ahead. So the difference between that is $400,000 difference between a negative spend and a positive. Which one do you want to talk to your clients about? We're in the positive. And if they did the survivorship from day one, they'd have $53,000 still in their care fund. Most people are going to underfund that life insurance until they're ready to make the legacy plans. So here's what we're seeing with asset-based plan and more affluent clients. Advisors are coming in and going, okay, I'm going to default to option A. I want to do an asset-based plan. My clients can afford to pay above it. Well, as I said, the problem you have is they've got a negative spending in 3 years of $290,000. I don't care if the clients are affluent, the kids are not going to be happy about that. So if we do traditional long-term care insurance and we do the life insurance with it, we can make that death benefit there to offset those claims. So if we add $23,000 to the policy, if we add it to the asset-based plan, that account value down the road, she's still going to have the same $15,000 a month available, but that account value, there's an account value once you add money to the long-term care plan or leave money inside the portfolio, you have to add it to the asset-based plan. So in this circumstance, they'd have $15,000 available and the account value would have $22.32. With the long-term care, I can make that monthly benefit $19,000. So I've created a cash flow difference of $6,200 a month. And that account value would have $46.11 plus the 19. So you're talking $25,000 available versus 17. So adding money to the asset-based plans doesn't really help. So with the affluent, what you find is if we add an extra $73,000, I can sit there and say, okay, client, here's $275,000. Do you want me to give it back to you 2 times, which the death benefit's $550,000, or do you want me to give it back to you 3 times, which is $825,000? Adding that extra amount to that asset-based plan, it changes the death benefit to $727,000 versus $842,000, or if they're super healthy, $1.1 million. So what I'm saying is I can use the life insurance, the survivorship life insurance for your affluent clients and give them a stronger death benefit and better long-term care insurance. And what the more affluent want, they've got probably larger tax qualified, they want home health care, and they're going to expect greater care options. So this is 3 examples. I give it back to it 2 times. If they're healthier, I take that death benefit to $750,000. I take it to over $1 million. Or for somebody that really wants a home health care, let's say they're worth $3 or $4 million, and they say, listen, I really want home health care. I could take that monthly benefit from $19,000 up to $25,000. And yes, they'll go through it a little bit faster, but they have more available up front. So you have to look for longevity of claim if they're worried about that for your affluent, or if they've got large tax qualified or they want home health care, or they're uber wealthy and they're like, listen, I just want them to have a better trigger, and are we taking care of the bulk of the claims? So now it just shows you that we can just create better plans maybe if we look at it a different way.
Yeah, and we're seeing lots of data here and talking about lots of data here, and it tends to be overwhelming, I'm sure.
Yes.
But the key takeaway is Barclay has created a system to make this easier than it sounds. So, Barclay, why don't you just kind of give an overview of how you work with people, how you can help people, how they can access the software, and how this is able to give me the ability to have these conversations with their clients more confidently.
Okay. First, we have to have the conversations back here in your 50s and 60s. You can't be afraid to ask the hard questions. I have a fact finder that I've developed. I actually did some work with one of the wirehouses, and I created this system because they all live 3 hours away, and I couldn't go there just to listen, to the client and then go back and run quotes and then go back to the client. So what we do is we have a full-blown fact finder. I need to know what they're thinking. There's about 18 questions on the third page, and you give this to the client and let them start thinking about it. We're worried about this. We're worried about that. We want to make sure that our grandchildren each get $250,000. Whatever their goals are, I need to know them. So then I need to know the financials, and I need to know if there's going to be some changes in their financial outlook over time. Selling a business, retiring soon. They're going to wait to age 70 to get their Social Security. Mortgage is going to come off in 7 years. All kinds of things that I need to see. And then what I do is I put something in place. And as you can see with yes, it's a lot of numbers, but all it does is it shows the advisor how we look at it and where we're going to make changes down the road, because the money's there. It's just, when do we make the changes in the product? And if we're going to add more money to their care fund down the road, do we want that to go to legacy or do we want that to go to care? And that's what we're trying to do for them. So what they do is hook up with us on LinkedIn, DM me, and I will send you the questionnaire. And all I ask is you don't send it to any other brokerage. You use it to contact your clients, get all the information. And if you want to order anything from your current resource, order it. I don't care, because my goal is to take this to the whole industry. We have a problem because we didn't track the insurance. We have this problem with any type of insurance we sell clients, is if it needs more funding, it's bad. And that's not true.
So in a minute here, I'm going to ask Matt to come back in here as the fly on the wall. I always ask him for any thoughts that might have percolated through his head as he's listening to our conversation. But Barclay just hit on a key concept for those of us in WSN and the whole mission that I am on, and that is Barclay talked about, just mentioned in passing, the monitoring of insurance, and that's so for a great extent of the consumers out there, that's what's missing. That there's been drive-by sales and no monitoring, no updating, and that's what's led to many policies failing, as we had a guest on earlier this year that talked about that. And so this is where the attorney as advocate, as that trusted resource for the family, is invaluable, because you're there and you will be continuing to monitor things. And now you've got one more resource to look to, so that you don't have to learn all the things that I've spent the last 15, 18 years learning, that Barclay spent 30 plus years in the long-term care space learning. So, Matt, is there anything that you'd like to bounce off of Barclay before we call this a wrap?
I just want to add, this last slide is, we do look at it from all angles. There's 4 different models that we can choose from. My software can test all of them at the same time. So I will sit there and look, can I do it one way or the other? But a lot of times we have right now is people in their 50s just can't afford the Cadillac. So we have to show them how to build it over time. And in situations where they're more worried about longevity, they haven't saved enough, we're definitely going to look at that first. But the thing back to you talking about having different resources, sometimes the attorney and the accountants can help the advisor get out of their way. So they may be the wealth manager and they understand, I know how to make money, I know how to do this, but the attorney can come in and say, yes, but look down the road, we want to do this, or this is what my client's been telling me for years, that they have a goal of giving each of their children $1 million, and you keep on blocking this, and now the husband's uninsurable, and instead of doing survivorship life insurance, we have to do individual life insurance, and it costs the client $45,000 more a year to do what we wanted to do. So we're trying to show them some things along the way that they can do. And let's say for the clients who are over age 80 and they're doing estate planning and they're kind of doing that last minute test, then we can go back and say, how about you start doing some gifting? Because parents absolutely love doing things for their kids where they already know that their kids are already set. And I think that's a thing that being able to say that mom and dad already set up my long-term care and legacy plan could say a lot.
So as we wrap this puppy up, this is amazingly timely. I'm actually dealing with this with my entire family right now. So it's absolutely fascinating to hear what's going on. And I know that my generation, Generation X, boomers and even millennials, these are conversations that are needed to have. And those of us who have aging parents really want to make sure that they have the care that they need. So Barclay, what's the best way for our audience to reach out and find out more about how they can work with you on this?
Barclay Sisk. I didn't put my name up in my category. I just put Barclay. Last name is Sisk, S-I-S-K. If they want to follow me on LinkedIn, it's #LegacyCarePro. That has all my articles that I've written over the last several years. There's certain demos like this thing I have in front of me I will give out to advisors. The Fact Finder questionnaire is probably one of the most important because you've got to get clients thinking today. And for example, I have family members, my dad was included, that wouldn't update their wills because they're afraid of it's going to happen tomorrow. If I talk about death, it's going to happen tomorrow. And so another thing about talking about long-term care and legacy back in your 50s, I'd rather talk about changing funding in your 70s and 80s and not going, oh, we've got to get you underwritten. Let's talk about your poor health and we can't do this now. We can't do that now. Let's get all that out of the way. It's very simple. And a lot of advisors come to us and they go, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And part of the problem is they don't know what their clients want. And then when I ask the questions back and go, have you asked your client this? No. Have you asked them this? No. That's where the disconnect is.
Sure.
Products is easy. If we Greg had mentioned we need to monitor them better.
Yeah.
Just like we monitor prescriptions. If you could look up a person's insurance planning and say, oh, they bought a UL back when they were 52 years old and it's underfunded. Well, that's fine. Let's put more money into it. They can't get it now. Because we're actually making ourselves look bad sometimes by some of the things we say.
Well, and you're all into that, brother. And so here, the whole idea to March to $1 Million and what Greg has been building is these educational tools, these awareness tools, and these opportunities for the trusted advisor to truly, really lean into being more trusted. So Barclay, we'll make sure that we have all of those links and that hashtag in the show notes to this podcast. So for Greg and for Barclay, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.
Thank you for listening to the March to $1 Million podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available, and get in touch with our team by visiting our website at www.wealthsolutionsgroup.biz or give us a call at 614-432-8065. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Wealth Solutions Network. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice from qualified financial service providers with any questions you may have.